On today's show,
we discuss the Celtics' dominant Game 1 victory and Scary Terry's Bledsoe jersey.
does Kawhi want out of San Antonio? Is a Hassan Whiteside intervention happening this summer?
And Melo doubles down on remaining a starter in OKC.
It's Tuesday, May 1st. The starter starts now.
Good evening, Sweet World, and welcome to The Starters, presented by Jack Daniel's Tennessee Honey. Whether you're joining us live right now on NBA TV, watching later on YouTube, maybe listening to the podcast, doesn't matter. We're happy to have you. I'm Jay Skeets, and alongside me, as always, that's Tas Melis.
Thank you for joining us.
To his right, the international man of mystery, taking it to the max, Lee Ellis.
Friend.
Lele.
And last, certainly not least, over yonder, that is the bearded one, that's Trey Kirby.
Hey,
yo! TK, what's up, man?
Well, I'm here at the internet looking for your best tweets at #TheStarters. And guys, after Indiana's Game 7 loss, the Pacers' Victor Oladipo got some internet love when he texted his trainer just 16 minutes after the game to ask when he could start training to get ready for next season. That inspired the Mavericks' Dirk Nowitzki to text his trainer today to ask the same question, but he didn't get quite the same response. Dirk texted, "When do we start?" And his trainer responded, "I told you 4 years ago that you were done 4 years ago. Your game's been in decline since Havlicek stole the ball from you. Your full court sprints are timed with a calendar. That being said, if you wire me $5 million worth of Bitcoin, we can start tomorrow." Those, my friends, are some sick burns. And it brings us to today's question. What are your best Dirk Nowitzki is old zings? For instance, how about this? Dirk Nowitzki is so old that bowl cut center part haircuts were still in fashion when he started in the NBA. Or Dirk Nowitzki is so old that he makes Lee Ellis look young. Hold on a second here. Dirk Nowitzki born 1978, Lee Ellis born 1976. So maybe Dirk isn't old, and maybe he should never retire, because clearly you can still be great into your 40s. Just ask Lee.
Yeah.
We want to hear from you, so let us know on Twitter, what are your best Dirk Nowitzki or Lee Ellis is old zings? Send us your best tweets to #TheStarters. We'll hear from you later.
All right, get those zings in tonight. We got a fun show. We're going to discuss the latest Kawhi Leonard report. We'll talk about Melo's future in OKC. We've got old man Lee Ellis' very solid play. But first, a couple of questions off of last night's Game 1 in Boston. TK, my man, take it away.
Thanks to 29 points from Scary Terry Rozier, 28 from young Jason Tatum, and 26 from handsome Al Horford, the Celtics beat the Sixers in a Game 1 where it seemed like Philly was trailing by 12 for about the entire game. Was it rust, home court advantage, or maybe anime? Guys, tell me, what's the biggest takeaway from Game 1?
Yeah, I don't want to make any excuses for the Sixers, but my biggest takeaway is that they weren't ready. I honestly, 24 hours later, I still can't believe that that was the same team that played in round 1. It was a 16-point game at the end. Like Trey mentioned, it wasn't close at all.
Didn't really feel like it, no.
No, they just simply weren't ready. All those open shots that they let up.
So why weren't they
like
ready?
a different
Because they
team.
had just that 6-day gap there after beating the Heat in the first round?
I think that was part of it. The Celtics were fresh coming off that win. Fresh, I guess, is the wrong word. I mean, they were prepared,
Right.
ready to play. The Sixers were not. They're in the barn of a Celtics team that has a great arena, and they just couldn't catch up, it felt like. And yeah, sometimes mentally, I think once you get down, I think it's foreign to the Sixers team, because the Sixers team seemed like they fought every single time in the first round. But once you get down, you just couldn't fight back. I mean, they just didn't have it.
It's the old rust versus rest, isn't it?
Yep.
You know, if they win that game last night, it's like, well, it's better to be rested. But they lost, and it's like, well, they were rusty because
Right.
they hadn't played and they weren't sharp. And coaches do talk about that, saying it's hard to keep guys fresh and sharp when you have a long break. And you don't know when you're playing as well. Like, you don't know if it's going to go a 5 or 6 or 7 game series.
That's what Brett Brown said before the game. He was worried.
Yeah, it was. But I also want to point out Jason Tatum. I continue to be incredibly impressed by this guy's composure for a young guy, for a rookie. Not just the way that he plays the game, but his IQ and his understanding of how to finish around the rim. A lot of young guys sort of rush their shots when they get inside and they don't quite know how to get around and finish in the paint. He seems to do it all the time. Not only that, he really exposed Marco Bellinelli on defense. They just went straight at him.
They were going at him with everybody.
Played him out of the game.
Bellinelli, yeah.
And you know, his actual status for the rest of the series is going to be in question if they're going to expose him like that. I mean,
Yeah.
Bellinelli offers something offensively, but defensively last night, Tatum killed him. And he is just an incredibly mature young player. He's got a game well beyond his years. He's just amazing. And he had a couple of off games in that first round, but then he's come back here and just been incredible.
Here's my biggest takeaway from Game 1. There is a reason why we have the cliche defense wins championships. And the reason is because on some nights in basketball, you just can't hit a shot. And a part of that was the Sixers last night. 5 of 26 from 3, 42% from the field. Maybe it was just because they were rusty. But on those nights, you need to trust your defense to keep you in the game, get some stops to maybe help your offense and get some easy buckets in transition. And Joel Embiid talked about it. The defense just wasn't there, the Sixers.
Oh, no.
And this is a good defensive team. I know we get all caught up in Joel Embiid getting his and Simmons getting his triple-doubles and guys hitting shots like they did against the Heat. But they're a good defensive team, and they have been for months, and they weren't. They got lit up by Rozier. They got lit up by Horford. You already mentioned Tatum there. They got to get back to playing D. They really do. And I'm interested to see, you said it there, Lee, what they do with Marco Bellinelli, because every minute the spicy one was out there, the Celtics ran their offense right at him. Terry Rozier in isolation, Horford in the post, and then Tatum a lot of times driving right by him. Something to watch, maybe an adjustment from Brett Brown. Do you try and hide him on a Smart, who's not really going to kill you offensively, or how do you get minutes? And he's got to give you points on the other side of it. That's the other thing. If Marco's not scoring, well, then he's just giving up too many on that end. But they got to get back to being a defensive squad.
For sure. Tatum was going at Bellinelli, he was going at Redick, and Brett Brown put those guys on them with a game plan in mind. But yeah, he might have to change that. That being said, you see those threes that were wide open.
Yeah,
if they get back in transition, they weren't. I mean, they were sort of stopping the ball, and then one pass, it was a 3-ball. I mean, when Aaron Baines is hitting corner threes, Aaron Baines had as many threes as the highest Sixer did yesterday with 2.
That's going to be trouble.
Yeah, and Semi Ojeleye, guys who don't usually hit. I think this game was an anomaly.
Okay.
You know, if I can believe in what happened in that first round, I mean, the Sixers are just too tough. But yeah, I think what was rusty was they were just sort of a little heavy-footed on the defensive end. And you look at Ben Simmons. This guy is too good to play the way he played. Even though the stat line is fine, he just wasn't in a flow. And you saw 7 turnovers. That wasn't him.
No.
They weren't in no flow whatsoever.
No, it was a weird game from him.
Yeah.
Again, you look at the end of the box score the other night, you're like, all right, he was great. But
that's also, again, part of the Celtics' game plan is to make life difficult for him. And if he isn't in a flow, he's not getting good passes to those guys, and if they're not dropping down those 3-pointers, you need to have a plan B. And the Sixers, to me, didn't really seem to have a plan B offensively last night. It was like, just keep firing away, which is fine. That's the way they play.
Yeah.
But when everyone's cold, you expect sometimes the guy's just going to go inside, maybe draw contact, just get the scoreboard ticking again rather than just trying to hit these home run 3-pointers every time.
All right, Trey, what's our next question with this one?
Well, we just made our picks yesterday, and as you can see here, all of us picked the Sixers, so after game 1, we all look like fools. It's just one game. But do you guys want to change your prediction?
Wow, we get a mulligan?
Yeah, we got a mulligan. I'm going Celtics in 4.
Do you want to actually change your predictions going Celtics in 4? Do you want to do something similar?
No, no, not after one game, because we do often see this in the playoffs where the first game can be a blowout, one team looks bad, now it's the adjustments in game 2, and just to see how the Sixers respond, because they're favourite in the East to go all the way. So we know they can play a much better game than they played in that first game. I think defensively, obviously they have to make some stops, but offensively they need to get some better shots or get some shots to drop, and then they can put some pressure on the Celtics. So after one game,
You're sticking with Sixers in 6.
The Sixers in
you
6.
have the Sixers in 5. Do you want to change that one? That's not going to be.
I should probably change my pick. I should bump it up 1 because I still do believe in them. And Sixers in 6. You know, coming into a series on the road, you just want to get 1 on the road.
Yep.
And so as long as they get game 2, I started to think, as a Sixers backer, you might be kind of happy they got spanked in game 1.
A wake-up call.
Yeah, because you got to react. And you got to think, they haven't had a bad game in a long time because they were so good to end the regular season. They had a fight in that first round. They won 4 or 5 games. They only had really 1 bad half in that game that they lost. So they're destined to have a bad game. I'm okay with Sixers in 6. And you got to remember, Joel Embiid was the only guy who wasn't cold. I think he's got a tough matchup in Aaron Baines and Al Horford. I was a little bit worried about that. But he had his best game of the postseason.
Right.
He's back. He's feeling good. I think that's a great sign.
I'm going to stick with Sixers in 6. But when you look at it from the Celtics side of things, if you wanted to change your idea or your pick, if you look at the first round, 6 of the 8 teams that won game 1 went on to win. Only OKC and Indiana took game 1 and eventually lost their series. The other thing is the Celtics just don't lose in Boston. They're 5-0, perfect right now. Terry Rozier can't miss a shot when he's in the Garden there. And the third thing is Jaylen Brown's coming back. I mean, we didn't have Jaylen Brown in game 1, and they still got it done in a 16-point win. He's very, very likely going to be playing in game 2.
So you changing that pick?
I'm not changing that pick. I got a spine to me, Mellis. Come on, man.
Let's wait till after game 2 and then ask that question.
Then we'll freak
again.
out.
Yeah.
Then we'll freak out. All right, lots more still to come on the starters tonight. We'll discuss the latest news and tension between Kawhi Leonard and the Spurs. Don't go anywhere. Back with the starters. Time to play a little Is This News? Trey's rounded up some recent NBA headlines. Going to pitch them to us and we'll determine whether or not they're actually newsworthy. Trey.
Our first headline comes from NBA.com by way of an ESPN report. It reads, the San Antonio Spurs are worried Kawhi Leonard's group wants him in a bigger market. Is this news?
This news. The
This
story
is a
that
news
never ends.
story.
Uh-oh, Tass is shaking his
No,
head.
I don't think this is news. Until there's something definitive, this is just the same stinking story over and over again. Not to throw a stinking in there as if
But
I'm
we haven't
mad, but
really heard this part of it, though.
that the
before,
Spurs
have we?
were worried.
Yeah, it's more to do with the injury now. That's like, well, forget about the injury. It's like they're trying to maybe get him out of San Antonio to go to a bigger market. That's something that's kind of new.
Yeah,
There
in
was
Ramona
the-
Shelburne's article,
Yeah.
the idea of like he wants to go to New York, or him and his camp want to go to New York or LA or even Philadelphia.
Yeah.
There was that talk out there
Right.
before, though. He's a man, the Jordan Brand man. He doesn't want San
Right.
Antonio as his base. He wants a bigger town.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Wow, nothing. It's not news. This is why we do this segment.
Yeah.
Nothing newsworthy to this.
Well, I guess if you sort of dig into the story the way that I interpreted it, I think as well his people are sort of saying, look, the Spurs, we know they're always competitive, but if you look at their roster, Aldridge and Gasol, these guys are a little bit older, and the younger guys coming through, like DeJounte Murray's good, but I don't think they're a contender as they have been in years gone by. And so perhaps as Kawhi's in his prime, they're also looking for him to go to a team that might be contending. Philadelphia 76ers is a pretty good option. So that may also be a part of it. But also, if this relationship with Pop and the Spurs is fractured, they might be also like, we just want to go somewhere else and go to a different team.
I thought what was interesting about the article that Ramona Shelburne wrote was the differences in opinion on what the injury actually is. As we keep seeing tendinopathy. How's it pronounced, Trey?
Tendinopathy.
Yeah.
You got it, my man.
Yeah, throwinopathy.
Throwinopathy,
I don't know.
who cares?
But their camp feels it's a different injury. And so when it was compared to Tony Parker's injury, it shouldn't have been.
Right.
Because there's just variance on opinions of the injury. So that makes sense to me. But that was the newsiest part to me. As far as the big market, maybe they do, maybe they don't. At the same time, the last thing we heard from Kawhi was that he wanted to be a Spur for life.
yeah, it was very, very convincing.
Well, Ramona got 35 seconds with him apparently as well.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
it was shot down.
Yeah.
Look, it does sum it up well, right? The Spurs' frustration is that they lost control of the medical care of their superstar in Kawhi Leonard. That's what they feel like happened. And on the flip side, I think Kawhi's camp, their frustration with the Spurs is you were sort of hesitant to let me go get a second opinion.
Yeah.
And then you had Pop calling me out with these sort of not so subtle shots in the media, making me look bad when I'm just trying to get healthy and get back. You can see where they are butting heads
Yeah.
and why they are butting heads. But I still have faith in this maybe working because we just had a recent example where LaMarcus Aldridge sure sounded like he was unhappy in San Antonio before coming into the season. He sat down with Pop, they worked it out, and then LaMarcus Aldridge had one of his better career years. So why couldn't that happen? I mean, maybe just is that sitting down, getting everything out on the table, and going from there. It's still, I think it still can be salvaged. is
Yeah,
what I'm
it'd be
getting
interesting if that 219 million extension is part of their negotiation.
It's
because
possible.
If Kawhi turns that down, then you feel that he absolutely wants out of San Antonio.
Right.
If they offer him that, then I can't see him not signing it.
Sounds
right.
like you're buying into Kawhi wanting to stay in San Antonio.
at. Who knows anymore? Who knows? What's the next one, Trey?
All right, final headline is from the South Florida Sun Sentinel. It reads, Pat Riley suggests an intervention with Hassan Whiteside and Eric Spoelstra. Is this news or a TV pitch?
Yeah, intervention. It'd be weird to see Whiteside on intervention. Hassan Whiteside played 76 minutes, right, in those 5 games that they lost to the Philadelphia 76ers. Even when Embiid came back, we thought, okay, now he has a role. They were going small. He was getting played off the floor. Embiid comes back. He gave them really nothing. I mean, he got outplayed by Embiid and didn't give them anything offensively. Does this make sense for Riley with a guy that's under contract for 2 more years and a whole lot of money to say, yeah, you're sort of in a weird way, a dying breed of big centers in this league, but we can still figure out how to make you work here?
A dying breed, but he fits into the DeAndre Jordan type of role. Why can't he be that guy? Why can't he be a rim runner that blocks shots?
And he
boards?
is it just safe to say the injuries caught up to him this year? And like Pat Riley said, we got into the playoffs, he wasn't ready to go, he wasn't in shape.
I guess we should have seen this coming. The few weeks prior to the end of the season, he was complaining about his role, and Dwayne Wade said, listen, the guy's not in shape.
Yeah.
And this
Yeah.
is a team that prides themselves on being in shape, and I would assume the injury caught up to him, and this is not a bad thing. If they have a conversation, it's always a good thing.
But
right?
this is the thing with Whiteside. When he's engaged, he's very good, but he often goes through these periods where he's sort of not that involved in the offense, and so he sort of doesn't get too much involved in the defense as well. He's a very good help defender coming and blocking shots. He can catch those lobs. He can get to the free throw line. He can do those things, but sometimes he sort of looks like he's not that interested and not working as hard as he could. But I actually like Pat Riley saying, listen, we're paying him $50 million over the next 2 years. It's not on us to impress him. He's got to go out there and work hard and earn his minutes. So I think this is a classic Pat Riley move. Like, say, work harder. You'll get those minutes. And they don't want to give up on him. Sit down with Spoelstra and see if he can work it out.
Yeah, I don't know if he's caught up in the idea of being more of an old school superstar big man, throw the ball to him
Right.
and score. I imagine that's partly in his head, and you kind of got to get that out of there.
You got to be
because it's
more
not
like
gonna-
a Capella and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where you're rim running and
Adapt
stuff like
in
that.
some way.
Yeah, and I think that's what Riley was saying. We will see. Let's hear from you guys, though, on Twitter. Thoughts on Whiteside, thoughts on Kawhi when we come back. Will Melo ever come off the bench? We'll debate that more in the Up Down Report.
The Starters is brought to you by Jack Daniel's Tennessee Honey, official partner of the NBA.
We are right into the Up Down Report, doing all the classics on tonight's show. First one, guys, in what should come as absolutely no surprise, Carmelo Anthony is still not keen on coming off the pine next season. Melo told reporters after OKC was eliminated from the postseason, quote, "I'm not sacrificing no bench role, so that's out of the question," end quote. Guys, I ask you, are you up or down on Melo just refusing here to come off the bench? You like it or you dislike it? All right.
Well, the only one thing I really do like is that he started the season by laughing when people asked if he should come off the bench and ended the season by saying, "There's no way I'm coming off the bench." But the guy's got to make a change. He could probably still be a starter somewhere in this league. If Paul George does end up leaving the Thunder, maybe Melo slides into that number 2 role. I do agree with him on some sort of things where he's saying that there wasn't a role set up for him coming into the season. He got to the team late in September. They barely had any chance to figure things out when he got there. That being said, something's got to change. It wasn't a great year. He didn't look comfortable. This is his first year being a role guy. What's the future for him? I don't know.
I see this message as, I sacrificed this season, I'm not doing that again. And for a 34-year-old, that doesn't look good. I think he can prolong his career if he changes the way he plays, comes off the bench. I think he's still going to get plenty of minutes and plenty of shots. But if he services as a starter, I mean, you're right, Trey, there may be a role out there for him, but I think primarily he could be utilised better in a different way. And this just makes him look stubborn and basically saying, I don't even want to have that conversation, which to me is just not a good look.
Yeah, it's just not a progressive move. You don't really get anything out of it by saying it in April. I mean, what's the point? It was funny when he said at the beginning of the year, somebody asked him in the locker room and he goes, "Hey, Paul, you hear this guy? He's asking me about coming off the bench." I understand he's a prideful guy. He's been a starter for a very long time. And yeah, maybe they didn't have a trial period to go through things. But what's the point of saying it to the media now?
Right.
Talk to Billy Donovan. Let's have a conversation about it. I mean, you still have a contract status to deal with before dealing with on-court play. But I think this could probably be a lesson this season that, maybe things aren't going to be all that rosy if you're, especially OKC. It's difficult being a role player in OKC behind 2 guys. But let's say Paul George leaves. He could be the number 2 guy. That would be a lot more fitting to his style.
Possibly. All right, last one here, guys. Celtics guard Terry Rozier. He showed up to Game 1 of the East semis wearing a Patriots Drew Bledsoe jersey. This, of course, the latest and likely last jab at Bucks guard Eric Bledsoe from their first-round battle. After Game 1 of that first-round series, Rozier referred to Bledsoe as Drew, and Bledsoe repeatedly said he didn't even know who the heck Terry Rozier was. So, are you up or down on Rozier's Drew Bledsoe jersey in Game 1 of the next series? That's the really specific part to
It
this
was
question.
a long time after it was first mentioned. That
Right.
was Game 2.
That's right. So we're a little torn on this
But I'm
one.
okay with it.
Yeah, better late than never. It's still funny to see a Drew Bledsoe jersey, and jerseys over football, or football jersey over a sweatshirt, always a good look.
Why couldn't he get this, though, after Game 2?
Well, he said he did have it. He was
Right.
sitting on it. He was sitting on it for a while.
So he was not going to wear it in case they lost then, I
Hey,
guess.
maybe that's smart. Don't give them that bulletin board material.
Yeah,
even more
well,
of
then
it.
you can't bring it out after the race has been run. No.
Okay.
I didn't mind it because, he didn't give the other guy bulletin board material, number 1. Number 2, I like the way they settled things at the end of the series. There was a hug. There was a, hey, respect. We hated each other for a few games, but respect. And I like those blues.
But-
that was a
but
nice
it's a great jersey.
If there was respect there, then he's basically showing there wasn't respect to wear that Bledsoe jersey after and not giving Bledsoe a chance to answer.
I think
You
it's
know
a
what I
little
mean?
bit more love for Drew rather than a diss for
Oh,
Aaron.
he's a big Drew fan.
He loves Drew. He told Ross Golden Woody after the game, "Man, I love that guy. I think he knows who I am.
He knows who I am. I know who he is.
Right. He knows who
Well,
I
he-
am. I know
yeah.
who he is. I've never talked to him, but we're cool.
That's great.
Well, he definitely likes Drew Bledsoe more than Eric Bledsoe. That we know for sure. But let's hear from you guys on Twitter. Thumbs up or thumbs down. Final break. Lele hits us with the very solid play. "40 games in 40 nights. 2 more tonight. They're on TNT. We got Cavs Raptors game 1 of their Eastern Conference semifinals. Raps trying to exercise their LeBron demons. And in the second game, game 2 between the Pelicans and Warriors, Steph Curry officially going to be playing
back.
in game 2. And yeah, apparently no minutes restriction as well. So great doubleheader tonight on TNT. We asked you though, for your best Dirk is old zings, like his trainer was texting him back. TK, you got a few of the funniest answers.
Yeah, some good ones. Ben says Dirk is so old that he calls Jason Terry young fella. Jason Terry, another guy younger than Lee. Jared says the phrase your old as dirt has now changed to your old as Dirk. I love it. Ryan says Dirk is so old he beat James Naismith one-on-one. Connor says Dirk is so old his rookie headshot was a rejected addition to the Sistine Chapel. Matthew says Dirk is so old that he remembers the last time a very solid play was actually very solid in your face.
Burned today.
I don't know what's
It's his
wrong with
birthday
Matthew.
soon.
I mean,
we can celebrate it.
Okay.
Matthew doesn't understand what a very solid play is, so I'll show it to you.
Okay.
Here. Matthew only had 1 game, but we still got a nifty one here from the Sixers, a little hot potato between JJ and Simo. Here it is. Look at this. Beautiful. Now, it does finish with a dunk, but that's all right.
That's solid.
Look,
It's a little flashy if you ask me.
You know, yeah, it ends with flash, but look at the solidness here.
Yeah.
Beautiful
Solid,
stuff.
solid,
And then,
flashy.
I mean,
Yeah.
Simo's going to throw it down. That's what I call a very solid play.
Sort of.
Hey, only 1 game to work with too, by the way. All right, we've got 2 games on tonight.
217 points.
Only 1 game to work with, but
Yeah.
a wedgie from
Yeah,
that
all
basketball
right.
game.
Here we go.
It was a quickie. Didn't stay in there long.
Yeah. If you blink, you'll miss this one. Yeah.
And it's down.
Yep.
Quick whistle. Way to be on it, referees. Way to be on it. Without the whistle,
Yeah.
we can't count it a wedgie, and we'd still be at 38. Luckily, we're at 39.
Wow.
Will we get to the big
What a
4-0?
4-0? Yeah, we're getting to 4-0. Can we still get to
Oof.
5-0?
Maybe.
Very unlikely, but
I don't know if we'll get to 4-0. We shall see. The fan of the night from a basketball game. No, it's from a baseball
that's why we're
game.
getting the Rounders music.
James Harden with that little hard hat. It's always a great vessel for ice cream.
Yep.
He's having some ice cream in Houston by himself.
Little known fact, those little mini helmets fit me perfectly. Starters Twitter show, it's up. Go download it, stream it, listen to it, tell your friends about it. That's it for us. Go Raptors, go Raptors. Curry's back tonight. Enjoy the TNT doubleheader. We'll see you at 6:30 tomorrow night.
Thanks for joining us, folks. And remember, it's not a home court advantage unless you're in your seat cheering. Beginning of the 3rd quarter. Get there, Raps fans!
Race the night, people.